Hi, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to the Savvy Circle, Unfiltered and Unscripted. Thank you so much for tuning in. The Savvy Circle, Unfiltered and Unscripted is part of Savin Vision Studios, so welcome. This is the home of bold conversations, unfiltered truth, and powerful storytelling. The Savvy Circle, Unfiltered and Unscripted is a flagship production of Savvy Vision Studios, where we dive deep into real, raw discussions without the script, just authenticity. Alongside the Savvypreneur Power Drop, delivering faith-driven empowerment for entrepreneurs, and my podcast, Savvy Wife, Savvy Life, dedicated to uplifting and empowering women. Savvy Vision Studios is here to bring voices to the forefront, spark change, and inspire impact. So let's get right into it. I love when I hear "Make America Great Again." Guess what? I agree. That's why I speak life into my boys. I'm so sorry, this is live, so we're going to be natural. Put my ring in. Anyway, that's why I speak life into my boys every single day, because they are young kings. When they walk into a room, they don't have to say a word. Their presence speaks for them. You are emulated. You are excellent. You are brilliant. Your brilliance, your power, and your strength and intelligence are undeniable. Now, let's talk about the greatness they don't want us to know. That's where history comes in. I used to hate when I was a kid, I used to be like, why is my mom making us learn about Black history? This is so boring. And I feel so crazy. That was the most ignorant thing to ever say. But anyway, what's up, y'all? Welcome back. So let's get right into it. The Savvy Circle, Unfiltered and Unscripted. You know, I don't hold back on this show. We talk about the real, raw, and uncomfortable, because that's where the truth lives. And today, we're pulling back the curtain on a history that's been whitewashed, stolen, and erased. Black people have created, innovated, and revolutionized industries for centuries. But how many of those stories actually make it into the history books? How many times have you heard about something and thought, dang, I didn't even know a Black person invented that? Exactly. And it's not because we weren't there. It's because we weren't credited. So today, we're going to talk about the inventions, the breakthroughs, the cultural shifts, and all things that Black people made happen only for white America to slap their name on it and collect checks. Let's get right into it. And it's not about bashing anyone. It's about equipping yourself with history knowledge. You know, my mother is Puerto Rican, so there's going to be a segment on that history. It's not about, taking sides or who did you vote for or anything like that. But let's get right into it. The light bulb lie. Everybody knows Thomas Edison, right? The so-called inventor of the light bulb. But what if I told you the light bulb as we know it wouldn't even work without a Black man named Lewis Latimer? See, Edison's first bulbs were trash. They burned out too fast to be useful. But Latimer, he invented a carbon filament, that made them last longer, burn brighter, and actually be practical for everyday use. But do you ever hear his name in the same breath as Edison? Do you? Nope. Because Edison took the credit, took the money, and Latimer's contributions got swept under the rug. Life-saving science stolen. Then there's Dr. Charles Drew, the man who figured out how to store blood for transfusions, literally saving millions of lives. The American Red Cross took his methods, made them the standard, and then, get this, barred black people from donating blood for years. They used this man's genius, but still found a way to be racist with it. The traffic light, the gas mask, and the lie. Ever heard of Garrett Morgan? Even if you drive, and if you do drive, you should thank him. Even if you don't drive, somebody's taking you somewhere, you should thank him, because he invented the modern traffic light system. And if you've ever used a gas mask, that's him too. But because people didn't want to buy life-saving equipment from a black man, he had to have white distributors sell it under their name. They made the money, he got the scraps. Oh, you love music? Thank a black inventor. We wouldn't even have color monitors for our computers if it wasn't for Mark Dean. But you think IBM did all the work. And video games? Jerry Lawson invented the cartridge system, allowing you to switch out games instead of buying a new console every time. Atari and other gaming companies ran with this work. But you won't see his name in their history books. And speaking of music, don't get me started. Elvis Presley did not create rock and roll. Black people did. Big Mama Thornton sang Hound Dog before Elvis stole it. Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, they built rock and roll from the ground up. But white artists took it, polished it, and made millions. Movies, music, and the white gatekeepers. Hollywood. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Phew. So let's talk about Oscar Micheaux. I'm actually doing a show, a podcast or whatever on this. First black major filmmaker. He was out there making films when Hollywood wouldn't even let black actors play themselves. Instead, they had white people in blackface playing us. Or even modern day struggles like Beyonce, who just dropped Cowboy Carter, the biggest country album of 2024, yet she got 0 nominations from the Country Music Awards. How do you sell the most but still not get recognized? White gatekeeping, that's how. The hard truth. I could go on forever. The ironing board, the home security systems, refrigerated trucks, cataract surgery, caller ID, even cortisone and steroids. Black people created them all. And the pattern? Either a white person took credit, or the invention wasn't recognized until white people started benefiting from it. But let's be real, this isn't just history. It's still happening today. The truth is, black brilliance built this country. Black innovation keeps it running. And black people will continue to lead, whether we get credit or not. But that's why we're here, to make sure these names get said. Because even someone like myself, I wouldn't be able to enjoy these luxuries. So we want to make sure these black names get said, these contributions get remembered, and the history gets corrected. So the next time somebody tries to act like black folks, black people haven't contributed to science, tech, music, film, or everyday life, run this episode, okay? Because we've been geniuses. They just didn't want us to know it. Okay? Got it. So here's a detailed breakdown of inventions by black innovators, the white individuals or corporations who took credit or benefited, and additional context about these contributions were either stolen, overlooked, or required white promotion for recognition. Inventions that were stolen or appropriated. As we discussed, number one, the carbon filament for light bulbs. Original inventor, Lewis Latimer, 1881. Who took credit? Thomas Edison. What happened? While Edison is credited with inventing the light bulb, his early designs were inefficient. Latimer, an engineer and draftsman, created a carbon filament that made light bulbs last longer and burn brighter. Edison's company incorporated Latimer's invention but failed to properly credit him. Number two, we talked about it, traffic light and gas masks. Original inventor, Garrett Morgan, 1923. Who took credit? White-owned companies and competitors. What happened? Well, Morgan invented the three traffic signal and gas mask. Because of racial bias, many white consumers refused to buy products from a black inventor. As a result, Morgan had to sell his gas mask under a white distributor's name. The U.S. Army used his gas mask extensively in World War I, while other inventors were credited. Number three, blood bank system. The original inventor, Dr. Charles Drew, 1940s. Who took the credit? The American Red Cross. So what happened? Well, Dr. Charles Drew pioneered large-scale blood banking and storage methods that made modern blood transfusions possible. However, due to segregationist policies, he was sidelined, and the American Red Cross initially, which was segregated, took over his methods without crediting him properly. Number four, automatic elevator doors. The original inventor, Alexander Miles, 1887. Who took credit? Later, white engineers and companies. What happened? Well, Miles invented a mechanism that allowed elevator doors to open and close automatically, and safety measures that revolutionized building design. White-owned companies improved upon his work, but often failed to acknowledge him as the pioneer. Number five, railway and telegraphy system. The original inventor, Granville T. Woods, 1887. Who took credit? Thomas Edison. So what happened? Woods invented a device that allowed trains to communicate wirelessly, preventing collisions. Edison attempted to claim the patent for this invention and even sued Woods. Woods won in court, but still didn't receive the same level of recognition as Edison. Number six, the Super Soaker water gun. The original inventor, Lonnie Johnson, in 1989. Who took credit? Laramie Corporation and Hasbro. So what happened? Johnson, a NASA engineer, created the Super Soaker, one of the best-selling toys ever. The company underpaid him for years, leading to a lawsuit in which he eventually won over $70 million in royalties. Number seven, refrigerated truck system. The original inventor, Frederick McKinley Jones, 1940. Who took credit? Large trucking and refrigeration companies. So what happened? Jones developed the first portable refrigeration system for trucks, which changed the food and medical industries. Major companies adopted his technology, but gave him little to no credit. Number eight, telephone transmitter and induction telegraph. The original inventor, Granville T. Woods, 1885. Well, who took credit? Alexander Graham Bell. So what happened? Woods invented improvements to telephone communication, but Bell's company acquired the rights, and Woods's contributions were overshadowed. Number nine, the ironing board. The original inventor, Sarah Boone, 1892. Who took credit? White manufacturers. So what happened? Boone improved the ironing board design, making it practical for fitted garments. While she held the patent, companies manufacturing it didn't acknowledge her. Number 2, home security, your home security system. The original inventor, Marie Van Britten Brown, 1966. Who took credit? Later security companies. So what happened? Brown invented the first home security system with video surveillance, which later inspired modern CCTV and security firms. However, major security companies reaped the financial benefits without recognizing her as a pioneer. Inventions that later required white promotion for recognition. Number 1, the first successful open heart surgery. Original inventor, Dr. Daniel Hale Williams, 1893. Who took credit? Later white surgeons and institutions. Well, what happened? Williams performed the first documented open heart surgery. However, white medical institutions were slow to acknowledge his achievement, and later surgeons received more recognition for similar procedures. Number 2, laser cataract surgery. The original inventor, Dr. Patricia Bath, 1980s, who took credit? The ophthalmology industry. What happened? Bath invented the laser phaco probe, which revolutionized cataract surgery. However, her contributions weren't widely credited much later in her career. IBM PC monitor and color graphics adapter. The original inventor, Mark Dean, 1981. Who took credit? IBM. Later recognition. So what happened? Dean co-created the color PC monitor and key components of the personal computing So IBM benefited from this work, but his contributions were not widely recognized until years later. Number 4, caller ID and call waiting. The original inventor, Shirley Ann Jackson, 1970s. Who took credit? AT&T and telecommunications companies. So what happened? Jackson's research led to technologies like caller ID and call waiting, but these innovations were widely commercialized without highlighting her role. Number 5, the first video game console cartridge. The original inventor, Jerry Lawson, 1970s. Well, who took credit? Atari and other gaming companies. So what happened? Lawson created the first interchangeable game cartridge system, paving the way for home gaming. However, white-owned companies dominated the industry, and he didn't even receive mainstream recognition for decades. 6, modern refrigeration system, which we originally talked about. Original inventor is Frederick McKinley Jones. Well, who took credit? White-owned refrigeration and shipping industries. So what happened? His invention made it possible to transport perishable goods safely. However, refrigeration companies adapted his work without fully crediting him. Synthetic cortisone and steroid production. The original inventor, Dr. Percy Julian. Well, who took credit? Large pharmaceutical companies. So what happened? Julian pioneered the mass production of cortisone and steroids, but pharmaceutical giants took over the market without properly crediting his groundbreaking research. This is just a list that highlights a small fraction of Black inventors whose contributions were either stolen, appropriated, or they did require white promotion to gain mainstream recognition. So, with that being said, we will continue to dive deeper into more inventions because, like I said, my mom being an educator, my dad a professor at Howard University and Morgan State University, I always used to ask myself, like, why is my mom making me sit down and study Black history? I didn't really appreciate it when I was a child, but as getting into the film and TV production industry and expanding, I wanted to put this out there. And as we talk about film and industry and things like that, let's just go there. Film and industry. Ernest Cole, South African photographer. Original artist, Ernest Cole, 1960s. The Appropriation, Cole's groundbreaking work, House of Bondage, published in 1967, documented the harsh realities of apartheid in South Africa. Despite his significant contributions, Cole faced professional struggles and isolation after fleeing to New York. His work remained largely unrecognized until the discovery of 60,000 lost negatives in Sweden, which reignited interest in his legacy. Early African American filmmakers, pioneers, are Oscar Micheaux. Like I said, I am doing a full thing on that whole thing. Motion picture companies, early 20th century, the challenges. These filmmakers established a tradition of African American cinema that operated both in contrast to and within the dominant white film industry. Despite their efforts, they often faced financial constraints, limited distribution, and a lack of recognition from mainstream audiences. Let's just jump in real quick to the music industry. Luther Vandross, R&B singer. He is the original artist. Luther Vandross, the 1980s. The industry bias comes here. Vandross, an immensely talented black singer, faced challenges due to industry biases against his appearance and race. Despite his success, the music industry struggled to categorize his work, leading to disparities in recognition and promotion compared to his white counterparts. Let's go into someone that people may know now. Beyonce, country music snub. Original artist, Beyonce, 2024, The Exclusion. Despite releasing Cowboy Carter, the biggest new country album in 2024, Beyonce received no nominations at the Country Music Awards. The snub highlights the persistent exclusion and bias against black women in the country music industry. Theater, we'll jump over there. Appropriation in theater productions. The issue is this: white directors and producers often helm productions that capitalize on the experiences of people of color, while black artists are sidelined. Example, the Artists Anti-Racist Coalition exposed a policy where white directors were hired to direct shows written by people of color, marginalizing black creative voices. Patent and invention. Enslaved black inventors denied patents. The historical context: enslaved black individuals were legally barred from holding patents, leading white enslavers to claim ownership of their inventions. The impact: this systemic denial prevented black inventors from profiting or even receiving recognition for their inventions, contributing to long-term economic and social disparities. Number 2, Henry Boyd, a furniture designer. Original inventor, Henry Boyd, 1830s. The challenges: a former slave, Boyd owned a successful bedstead factory employing up to 50 workers. Despite his success, he faced racial violence, including arson attacks, and his contributions were largely unrecognized in mainstream narratives. Visual arts. Early African American painters. Artists: Joshua Johnson and Robert Seldon Duncanson, 19th century. Overshadowed contributions despite their talents. These artists received limited recognition during their lifetimes, and their works were often excluded from mainstream art narratives. Engineering and technology. We spoke about him already. Granville T. Woods, the Black Edison. The original inventor, Granville T. Woods, late 19th century, overshadowed contributions. Despite holding numerous patents in electricity and electromagnetism, Wood's achievements were often overshadowed by his white contemporaries, leading to his nickname, the Black Edison. These examples underscore the systemic challenges Black innovators and artists have faced across various industries where their contributions were appropriated, overlooked, or required validation from white counterparts to gain mainstream recognition and awards. Vandross, often overshadowed by white artists who adopted R&B and soul influences, yet he remained a cornerstone of contemporary music. Number 2, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, the godmother of rock and roll. She is the original artist, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, 1930s to 1950s. Who took credit? Well, white rock and roll musicians, Elvis Presley, Jerry Lee Lewis. Well, what happened? Tharpe was a pioneer of rock and roll, blending gospel with electric guitar riffs that inspired generations. Yet, mainstream history often credits white male artists with the genre's creation, erasing her foundational influence. Number 3, Little Richard and Chuck Berry, true rock pioneers. Original artists, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, 1950s. Who took credit? Elvis Presley, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones. Well, what happened? Little Richard's energetic performances and Chuck Berry's guitar-driven, sound-shaped rock and roll. However, their contributions were downplayed, while white artists who copied their style gained greater commercial success. Literature and intellectual property. Number 1, Zora Neale Hurston. Unappreciated in her time. Her original work, Their Eyes Were Watching God, 1937. Who took credit? Later white scholars and feminist movements. Well, what happened? Hearst was a key figure of the Harlem Renaissance, but her work was largely ignored until rediscovered in the 1970s when white feminist scholars championed her writing, ironically after she had died in poverty. Number 2, The Hidden Figures of NASA. Original contributors, Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson. Well, who took credit? White NASA engineers and administrators. Well, what happened? These brilliant Black women played critical roles in space exploration, but their contributions were largely unknown until recent decades, thanks to the book and film Hidden Figures. We'll go over to fashion and industry. Number 1, Anne Lowe, the designer behind Jackie Kennedy's wedding dress. The original designer, Anne Lowe, 1953. Well, who took credit? The Kennedy family and the white fashion industry. Well, what happened? Lowe designed Jackie Kennedy's iconic wedding dress, but was barely acknowledged. When asked about her dress, Jackie simply said it was made by a colored woman. Number 2, the origins of streetwear and sneaker culture. Who created it? Black youth and hip hop culture, 1980s to the 1990s. Well, who profited? White fashion brands like Nike, Adidas, Supreme. Well, what happened? Streetwear, sneaker culture, and athleisure originated in Black communities, but were co-opted by major fashion brands that marketed it to the mainstream white audiences without crediting its roots. The bigger picture. This pattern of appropriation, erasure, and whitewashing is not accidental, it's systemic. Black brilliance has driven progress in every field, yet credit and financial success have historically gone to white individuals and institutions. But here's the thing. We're not waiting for recognition anymore. We're reclaiming our stories, telling our truth, and making sure the next generation knows exactly where innovation comes from. So if they won't teach it in schools, we'll teach it here. Look it up. We can educate ourselves. If they won't write about it in history books, we'll write it ourselves. We'll have our own production companies. People like Oscar Marceau paved the way. Let's take it. Because Black excellence isn't up for debate. It's a fact. What do you guys think? Drop a comment, share this episode, and let's keep the conversation going. Let's make sure Black brilliance is never stolen, erased, or whitewashed again. Thank you so much for joining the Savvy Circle Unfiltered and Unscripted, which is part of Savvy Vision Studios. And I invite you to tune in, like, share, subscribe, and I will see you next time on the Savvy Circle. Stay in contact with us through our email, the Savvy Lifestyle Lounge at gmail.com, my website, thesavvylifestylelounge.com. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.